Hi everyone, this is Mindy for Lawn Fawn, and in today's video, we are going to create a farmyard platform pop-up. I think these pop-up cards are so much fun and just love creating all the different scenes with them. I'll start with taking a look at some of the products that I'm going to be using. So first, I'm going to start with this sunray background stencil. Then, of course, I'm going to have all the clouds because I use that in almost every single card. It's so great for scene making. I have the slimline grassy hillside, but I end up not using that. Then I have the Hey There stamp set and the Build a Barn die set. I also have here the platform pop-up add-on, which is that backer piece on the right-hand side. I have the platform pop-up hillside wraparound, so this is totally optional. And then I have the main platform pop-up die set. I picked out all of the images that I want to use on my card front, and I'm keeping the scene fairly simple. I just have a couple critters there and a fence, and I'm going to ink these up in the Lawn Fawn Jet Black ink, which is good for coloring with any type of alcohol marker. And these are all getting stamped out on the white 80-pound cardstock. Then for my coloring, I am going to be using my Copic markers today, and I'm going to try and have the caps at the top of the screen for you to see which ones I'm using. I love these images because they're going to be very easy to color. So for the cow that I'm starting off with, I'm going to color the spots black. So I have N8, N6, and N4. And I just picked the right-hand side of each of those spots on the cow to have the darkest color and then fade out or blend out into that lightest color. I'll add the N4 for the hooves for the cow and then kind of add just a little smidge of N8. Now for the horns, I'm going to do Y32 and Y35, just adding a little line for the shadow area. And then I moved on, since I had the yellows out, I went ahead and grabbed a Y38, I believe it was, and just went ahead and colored this chick right away. I realized I probably could have colored this a little different because he's got that little thing on the top of his head, so I probably could have turned it into a rooster, and I ended up leaving that part white because I still wanted to use it, but I think I just kind of colored it wrong. He's still super adorable. Now for the rest of the cow, I had brought in a light gray marker and just kind of added that to the right-hand side of the cow. I didn't even blend that out. For the muzzle of the cow, I did that in R22, 21, and 20. And since I had these colors out, I thought I would go ahead and do the face of the sheep, those colors too. Really wish I wouldn't have because I feel like I gave my sheep a sunburn. So if I were to color that again, I probably would go with more of an E11 and an E01, something like that. And then for the rest of the sheep or the body of it, I just added little dots here and there to kind of give it some textured look to it. I colored in the little fence and I'm going to do that in E74. So I just went through, colored that whole thing in that light brown. And then I came in with an E79, I believe it is, and just added a dark color on the very bottom of each of those posts. Now for my clouds, I'm going to do a BG11 and all I'm going to do is outline the clouds. I find that that is just the simplest way and for me the best way to give the clouds just still some color to it, but without having to think too hard about where to add any shadows. Then I use the coordinating die to die cut out all of my images and set off on the side to work on the rest of my card. I went ahead and die cut out all of my pieces, so I need 2 of those pieces from the main platform pop-up. Then I have 3 of these T shapes. Next, I have 3 pieces of grass, and these are all cut from the 80-pound white cardstock. So that's going to be my inserts for my platform pop-up. And then I have that hillside wraparound. So that's totally optional. I just thought it would look really good with kind of my farm scene. And then we have that add-on. So that's going to be our background piece, which is the one I'm going to start with first. I also die cut out a small piece for my sentiment for the front that I will decorate at the end. I'm taking a sunray background stencil and I'm actually going to spray this with some pixie spray, which is a low tack adhesive spray, and that's going to help some of those fine areas of the stencil stick down to my cardstock. So I went and I sprayed that over my garbage can and I let that sit for a second. So the back of my stencil is tacky, and then I'm placing this over that white piece of cardstock and I'm going to push down over those lines to help secure it down. I'm also going to take some Post-it tape And I just run that across the top of the stencil and kind of extended past it to secure it down to my work surface. And I'm also going to do that down at the bottom. I thought about using my magnetic station, but with so many lines of the sun rays, it was just easier to tape it down. To ink blend, I'm going to start with some sunflower ink from Lawn Fawn, and I'm just picking that up with a small blending brush. I'm starting down in that center point of the stencil. That's where I want the darkest color to be for my background. And then I just blend it out to the rest of the stencil. That Post-it tape and that pixie spray is really holding up well, but I'm still kind of holding down each ray with my finger as I go because it can shift a little bit. So each time I come in with color, I'm going to start in that center point and work my way out. And then I'm going to come in with a fake tan. So I'm kind of creating a sunrise or sunset, however you want to look at it. But I have that fake tan starting in the middle and having it fading out into the white. So once I finish that, I'll go ahead and remove my Post-it tape, and I can also pick up my stencil. Now the back is going to still be sticky even after I wash it. So I just want you to be aware of that. And then I'm going to take those same colors and I'm just going to lightly go over all of those sunray areas. So I personally really like to have those white areas kind of filled in with some color. I just think it helps so it's not so stark white compared to the ink blending that I did. And I'll also bring back in that fake tan and kind of go over those areas as well. After I have this all nice and ink blended, I'm going to bring in some white ink to add some interest and just kind of some speckles to the background. You're not going to see a ton of the background, but I still like to have it completed. So I added some of this white ink to my work surface with a drop of water, and then I'm going to mix that together, and using my paintbrush, I'm just going to splatter this all over the background. I'll then work on adding some color to my grass. You could also die cut this from some green cardstock. I just really like being able to kind of add the ink to it and picking what color I want to do, which in this case is sage leaf from Lawn Fawn. And I'm working on a silicone mat. I was going to bring out my Ranger one that is kind of a cloudy look to it where you could see through to my work surface, but it was freaking out my camera. So I just have this white one here that's pretty stained because I use it quite a bit. But the main point is that it's a silicone surface to kind of hold those pieces of cardstock in place and they're not sliding all around my glass mat. Now, this part I did not end up using, but I wanted to show you. I was using that slimline grassy hillside stencil to add some ink and kind of that grassy hillside to this wraparound piece, but I just did not fall in love with it. So what I ended up doing was die cutting this wraparound piece from some gingham paper instead. So you'll see that just a little bit later on. I just kind of wanted to show you that not all things go as planned. Now I'm working on my main base piece for the platform pop-up, and they create all of these score lines. So I'm going to go through, fold all of those lines, and reinforce the fold with the bone folder. There's also these smaller flaps on the ends. So I'm going to reinforce those folds as well, and I'll repeat those steps for my other piece. Now you're going to notice I have some green ink on the top, and I mainly did that so that if somebody is looking down at the platform pop-up card, that green is going to match my grass that I had just ink blended. I'm going to come in and start adding some adhesive to the flaps. So we have these two small flaps here and the big ones at the top of the platform. And I'm using our 1/4 inch double-sided tape to add that adhesive to those tabs. Now we have the three T's. They have score lines on the bottom of them. So we're going to fold up two of those T's. The other one, I'm sorry, I think I did off screen. I cut off at the score line. So only two of them we need to fold and add some double-sided tape to. To put these inserts in, you're going to take one of those T pieces. I have that tab with the adhesive on it kind of facing up, and we're going to slide that in through that slot that the die created. Make sure that your T is flush there. We're going to have that small tab kind of folded up so it's facing you. I'm removing the backer from that, and I'm going to fold that down. So then what we're going to do is remove the adhesive on that larger tab. We're going to kind of fold this up, tuck that tab down, and then secure that down to our base. So this is kind of creating just one of our bases at the moment. I have this one done. I'm going to grab my other piece and repeat those same steps. So I took that T piece, I'm going to slide that in, and the tab with the adhesive on it is facing up towards me. You just want to make sure your T is flush across because that's what our grass is getting attached to. So I remove the backer from that small piece and folded it down, removed the backing of the larger tab and folded that up and just tucked that down. Now, before I put any of this together, I'm going to add my pieces of grass. So I'm taking the 1/8 of an inch double-sided tape and I'm adding that to one of those T pieces that's sticking out at the top. I'll remove the backing of that T piece, and this is where I'm going to add my grass. Now, this is where you kind of have to think about exactly how your scene is going to lay out. So for this one, when I stand it up, there's my grass. And then for my second piece, I'm also going to add that skinnier double-sided tape to it, but I'm taking it and I need to figure out what spot or what side I'm going to add that grass to so it's all facing the same direction. So in this case, it's going to be the front where that scallop piece is. So I added some of that tape to my T piece there that's sticking up, removed the backing, and then added my grass. Now you can do this later on after the box is put together. I just thought it would be easier to do this now before I actually adhere it. Now we have one other T piece that I had cut at the score line, so it's not going to fold up. I added some double-sided tape to that main base piece, and I'm going to attach this right in the front. So this is going to go in the middle, but we didn't need to attach the tab to anything. That's why we cut it off. So I'm just going to make sure it's aligned with my grass that I have in the background there. And then I added that tape to the top of that T piece and added my third piece of grass. So we have all of our inserts in. Now I'm adding that double-sided tape to that main piece right in the middle because we're not going to see it. And I also have these two. So I have the tab here on the left that I had removed the backing of the double-sided tape. I'm taking my other piece and I'm going to butt it up right next to it and fold that tab over to secure it into one long piece. So everything is matching up. I had to make sure my grass was all facing in the same direction. And now I can remove the backing of this double-sided tape that's in the center and also the tab at the top. And I'm going to just fold this up. I just want to make sure that those base pieces there on the right-hand side are lined up perfectly so it sits flat on the table. So I'll line that up, push that down to secure it, and then I have my tab there. I'll fold over and secure that at the top. So it may seem complicated, but it really is one of the easiest interactive cards I probably have ever done, and they are so super cute and fun. I'm going to go ahead and attach my backing to this. So this is the piece I did the sunray on, and I added some of that skinny double-sided tape to the back of that, but I forgot to fold it. So I'm carefully folding along those score lines. And once I have those kind of folded in, I'm going to take this and attach it to the back of my box. Now, of course, this is totally optional as well, but I think this sunray or sunrise or sunset totally makes my farmyard scene just even cuter. So now when we fold it up, everything is secured down and I can start working on attaching my critters to really create the scene. Now to do that, I need to have my barn. So I'm going to go ahead and start gluing my barn together. I did all the die cutting off screen. And I'm going to alter my barn a little bit. You can have your items in here go pretty high, but I'm going to end up trimming mine down. Didn't want to go real high with my scene. I kind of wanted everything to stay, kind of compact. So I glued the roof on with some liquid glue. And what I like to do a lot of times is just have a paper towel underneath to catch any of that excess glue. And that way that glue isn't getting onto my other pieces that I have. Now I have my barn doors die cut out of white cardstock, and the die also has these pieces or these panels you can die cut and add behind it if you don't want your doors to open. Then I'm going to attach this to the front of my barn. And after I get this down, I am just going to wipe off any excess glue and take my scissors and just go right behind my roof and trim that part off. Now, I could have my barn go in front of the grass or behind the grass. I thought it would be really cute to have it behind the grass. So I added a piece of double-sided tape to the front of my barn, and then I just tuck it in the very far back, and I'm going to attach that to the grass. So I actually kind of close up my box to help secure that down in place. Now I can start bringing in all my cute little critters to create my scene. And to do this, I'm just going to use the lawnfawn liquid glue. For my sunburnt sheep, I added the liquid glue just to the back legs to attach it. And for my cow, I'm adding it to both of the feet. That grass goes up pretty high, so just adding it to the bottom feet area is going to be enough to secure it in place. I have my cute little chick here that I'm going to add, and I thought it was just a perfect fit right by the cow because he is smaller, so it's not blocking the way of the sheep. I didn't end up using the fence. I just didn't think it fit well with my scene, so I'll just save that in my little stash of lawn fawn characters that I have saved. Then I'm bringing in my clouds. So these, I really wanted to have these kind of hanging off the edge. I thought it looked really cute. It's going to end up not working out for me, but I'm still adding them here right now, off on the side, one cloud on each side. And I think to me, my favorite part is when this is closed. I love that cow peeking over and my scene kind of extending off of the side of the pop up. And then I have one little baby cloud that I'm going to add inside there. Now I have my wraparound piece that's going to go on the outside of the box. So this is going to give it that hillside look, which I thought went really well with my farmyard. And I die cut that out of that gingham pattern paper. So these create folds on here that I'm just going along and folding all of those folds, kind of reinforcing those with my bone folder. And I'm actually really get glad that I switched because I think this just looks a lot better with my farmyard scene to have that gingham on there. I really wished I would have thought of this first because then I could have matched my green. The sage green doesn't match quite as well, but I wasn't going to change anything. Everything's already secure down, but I probably would have went with more of a brighter like celery green, something like that. So there are tabs on the side, on each side that I added that double-sided adhesive to. Once again, I butted these up next to each other and folded that one tab in. Then I can go to the other end and fold those down together. So this is going to be a wraparound to go on the outside of our platform pop-up. Now what this is going to do is it's going to go right over our platform pop-up. You kind of just need to kind of just finagle it and wiggle it a little bit. You can see I'm struggling here because my clouds are in the way. So I tried to go from the bottom just to make sure everything is fitting before I added adhesive. So I did get it over this from the bottom. You just kind of have to carefully fold that up a little bit and it will slide up. Now this is supposed to completely cover that white panel and it would be flush with the bottom of my card. But unfortunately, the hillsides when I would try and push this up were running into my clouds, which I was super bummed about. So I needed to come in and just go along the edges and trim my clouds off. So I was still able to have some clouds in my scene. I just really wished I could have had them hanging off the edge because I thought that looked really cute. This still works. So this card was definitely just kind of a work in progress. Things didn't quite go as I wanted them to, but it's still turning out super cute. I just need to adjust to the circumstances. So my last piece is the sentiment. So I have this piece die cut out of white cardstock and I have the sentiment "Hey there" that I lined up at the top of that piece. I'm going to ink it up in the black licorice ink at the top. Now I want this to be 3 lines of a sentiment. So instead of cutting my stamp, I'm going to do some masking. So what this is going to say, "Hey there, it's pasture." And I lined those 2 words, "it's pasture." I lined those up center with "hey there." And then I just covered up that last word with a Post-it note, inked it up, removed the Post-it note, and then stamped it down. So that way I don't have to cut my stamp. So I cleaned my stamp off really good, made sure it was dry, lined up the word birthday with underneath so it's all kind of going down centered. And this time I'm masking off the other half of the stamp. So that way I'm only inking up the word birthday. Just be sure to remove your Post-it note before you close the door of your MISTI or if you happen to be using a clear block to do the stamping. So I'm going to stamp that down. So this is going to say, "Hey there, it's past your birthday." And then on the back of the card, I can write my personal message. So to attach this, I'm just using some Tombow tape runner and I'm going to attach this to the front of my platform pop-up card. So then there I will finally have my finished platform pop-up card in the farmyard style. I just love creating all these different scenes and I hope you enjoyed today's video and I hope some of the helpful tips that I provided along the way of things I would maybe do differently have helped you if you want to create a card similar to this. I really enjoyed it and I really don't think the recipient's going to mind if my grass does not match my gingham paper. It's still all so super cute. So I hope you enjoyed it too. Thank you so much for joining me today. See you soon. Bye.